I don't think it's so good, man. Oh, you had this one scene, right? And now, of course, it's like an older song basically started, right? Like that peak, you know, PlayStation 1 for me, right? Yeah, peak PlayStation 1, right? This is like the perfect opening, man. Oh, hello, Myrmonden here. Today we are reviewing of course Suikoden 2's opening. I would say the greatest opening of all time of every video game. Amazing. Huge inspiration for many animes, right? Especially slime, it's just slime, right? So yeah, please subscribe and let's look at the opening. It's gonna be rough. The goosebumps immediately, yeah. I don't know how many times a million times I've seen the opening. I even wrote about it at school once. Yeah, reviewed it. It's so good because it starts like this, right? I mean, the goosebumps, yeah, because you see the different crests and so on. But it's how it starts here, and then a bit of build up, right? And now you get to the ruined country in the war. Right, then we see them kind of like, you know, having this, the character introduced, right? You see them having the, yeah, and of course you see Luca, the crazy one, right? It's, all the body corpse, you know, it murdered everyone, right? And this is the best part of it, though. I love it so much for because it's so well written. It's kind of like the stone, right? And then we see that one little seed here. And this is why the, the opening is so good, because now you have this little, you know, yeah, it's just so perfect, right? So now you have this part here, right? The music go down, and you have this one little seed, right? Yeah, you have this one little seed coming in. I don't think it's so good, man. Oh, you have this one seed, right? And now, of course, it's like an older song basically started, right? I can barely speak, yeah, but it's so beautiful something. It's the most beautiful opening ever, right? And then you have this like perfect, yeah, this perfect, you know, kind of re-song here, right? And then of course finally see the main character, right? His sister, well, Joey, yeah, but the traitor. But then we see his sister and his best friend that betrayed him. Spoilers, whatever. And then of course we see all the characters, right? Because 108 playable characters, we just show you the whole cast, right? No, 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 no. Do, do, do. This is like no, but this is like seriously like, you know, this peak. This is like peak, you know, PlayStation 1 for me, right? Yeah, peak PlayStation 1, right? This is like the perfect opening, man. Do, 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 do. But this is so much goosebumps and crying. Never see like yeah. Missing like maybe 70 characters. We're missing like 70 playable characters, something like that. Oh, it's so beautiful. For example, right? Not I mean, I liked opening 5 as well, right? But for example, before we go into opening 2, right, and talk about it again here and review it, I think opening 5, it's a good. It has the same symbolism, right? You know, evil mom is that here, right? But so on. But I just think that, as I said briefly a minute ago, one thing why the first opening was there, Suikoden 2 opening is so good, because Suikoden 1 and 2, right? That's PlayStation 1, and they had that perfect mixture of like, they're still retaining that, you know, Super Nintendo 2D setting, right? Of sprites, this overview, the bird view and so on, right? But then they have that PlayStation power, right? So they were played as like the perfect Super Nintendo games, right? But on a more powerful console. Here instead, no, I do. Suikoden 5 is like my favorite after 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are very, you know, the classic one. And 5, maybe 3 is good too, but okay, maybe it's 4. Okay, 4 is the one that is bad. Okay, but whatever. The thing though, from a graphical standpoint, right, is that the 5th one, you see them using this 3D graphic, right? And I think this devalues the opening, right? Because now it looks like a dated, you know, animation, right? Where I can rewatch. We're gonna go back to the beginning, of course, right? You know, the first opening, you know, opening 1 and 2 is all right. And they still hold up because they're that kind of sprite, the kind of animation opening, right? Where opening 5 visually doesn't hold up. The storyline is still there, but look at the graphic here. Yeah, it's weaker, right? Because they're using that current modern graphic for that time frame. It's the same story in the 5th opening, right? And then of course you have the hero coming in and so on, right? But you still have this like, yeah, and this was yours so on. But the graphical, you know, fidelity, right, is weaker. Opening 3 definitely still holds up better, I feel, right? Because it's also opening 3 instead is like the anime opening, right? So I think it also holds up more today, right? But is it that opening 2 is just so perfect with the storytelling? And let's review opening 2 then. But yeah, I'm emotional. But Let's review the opening. Let's review the opening, right? But I mean, the opening is so good because I will briefly mention it here, right, during the actual part and comparing it to 3 and 5 and 4 and so on. But it's just like, you know, JRPGs, right? They're very classically animated style, right? I feel fitting in for the channel. What do you guys think, right? Because I feel a lot of overlap, right, between anime and manga and especially Japanese role-playing games, especially with Isekai, no Konosuba, right? They're all very heavily inspired by Japanese games. Like this game here is very. So if there's one game, right? So if you haven't played this game before or heard about this game, if there's one anime that is incredibly heavily inspired by this anime, is Slime, right? The whole city building anime, right? Yeah. So Slime, right? You go to a new. This anime is not Isekai, right? But still, right? The game is like you come to a new country, right? You in the beginning of the game, you get betrayed and you get like exiled to a new country, so it's a little bit of a new world, right? And then there you have to recruit different races and animals and, you know, wolves and dogs and whatever, right? And kobolds and elves and everything to your army, right? To fight against the evil empire. So it's very, very much a classic, you know. You have to, because the Suikoden games, right? It built on this old Chinese book or lore, we call it, called Water Margin. The Gensō Suikoden, right? Gathering of the 108 heroes, right? And it's a very classic outlaw style, right? Where you're just like, and I need to get an archer guy. Well, this guy over there, he's a very good archer, right? It's very much that kind of storytelling. And one other anime is the Hero Tales. It's an anime which is very physical, and they have fewer characters, but it's basically the same thing, right? It's like medieval China, and they're like recruiting, oh, this guy is a great swordsman, this guy is a great archer, this guy is this woman here, she's a good thief. You know, it's like, they pick up, you know, one outlaw per role, you know, yeah, 108 characters, and everyone has one speciality, right, you know, and one kind of, you know, skill in the war, right? And the games are so good because, you can see here, so the game has always been about this thing, right? Yeah, it's too emotional, but yeah. The game has always been about that, right? You recruit your characters, and then every character can fight in your team, right? Like a party member, but half of them can also do stuff, like, oh, I can build a blacksmith, or I can run like a store, right? And I can have the innkeeper. So you also basically build up your city, right, by getting them as well. So if you haven't played these games, I recommend them heavily, right? Suikoden games, one of the greatest JRPGs ever. And yeah, especially if you like that, like, you know, Tenshi Slime, right? Or those, you know, similar, I'm gonna build my own empire isekais, right? Because this is, of course, a JRPG from the 90s, right? And this is like this storyline is very, very similar, right? You know, oh, in this arc we're gonna fight the elf guys, and then they join us, right? Now we're gonna meet the kobolds, and then two of those guys are gonna join our party members, and oh, we are betrayed by the dwarves, you know. It is that kind of storyline, you know, all the time, right? And one thing interesting with this game, I say here before I talk about the opening here, is that in the Suikoden games, you have basically a storyline that travels through all the games, right? So, but they're all on the same planet, but they are different timelines, and the 1 and 2 are basically just next to each other, right? And then the third game is like 20, what is X number of years after the second game. Then the fourth game is like a pre-game, you know, prequel kind of thing. And the fifth game is like after that. So they can all have some character alive in all of them, right? And they can combine. So they basically, like, every game is like one continent of the game world. I think it's interesting too, right? So you don't have, like in most JRPGs, you know, like fantasy. I mean, I love fantasy, but it's like, you know, every FF game is a new planet, right? Here is that is like every continent, basically. And I do think that's more common, though, for Japanese tactical role-playing games, right? Tetris Ogre, Fire Emblem, and so on. I think more of those games tend to have more like, well, here we're fighting in this continent, right? So half the characters might appear in the next game because at least a few of them might take the boat to the next continent. You know what I mean? That's very common, right? Yeah. And especially there's one character in this game called Vicky. She can teleport. So she basically sneezes and she teleports by accident. She's in every game, I think, because she's the same person, same age, because she teleports in age, you know, or in timeline. I mean, so she teleports to different timelines. That's when you meet her in every game, right? Because she's just like, she accidentally always comes in to help you, right? In every timeline. Because of course her destiny is to be one of the, you know, 108 heroes, right? Yeah, so she's always stuck at that every time. But anyway, I think this opening is so fantastic. I think it is the best opening ever, basically. Best PlayStation 1 opening, at least. And it's so strong, right? Because here in the beginning, you're first having this, like, this kind of this up-screaming sadness, right? And I always love opening so much, because I always compared it to this classic kind of, you know, theater plays, this classic kind of storytelling that you might find in something like Mozart's works or something like that, or this kind of like classic kind of German or I guess Austrian, you know, the kind of troll flute, the kind of musical style, right? Where it goes up, very much like, you know, an opera singing beginning, right? Na 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 na, and then it goes soon after here, right? It's very, very tragic. It's like dying. We see the main bad guy. He's like standing on corpses. There's blood everywhere, you know. Getting like a very, very dramatic start, right? And then it's followed by this like it's a disaster. Everything is dead, right? And then of course we see the little sapling coming in, right? And then of course the hero is shown, and then we see all the bottom. I think it works so well is recorded as well, right? Because as we can see soon here, when they have the tragedy, right? The upbeat, you know, the right? Then because there's so many characters in this game, right? Then of course the first half of the opening can show us all the bad guys, right? It can show us that bam, bam, here's all the military guys, right? Let's watch it again here. Right, so we have this, you know. And then it shows you the crest, right? Because you and your best friend have one of the crest each, right? You have one of the runes, the ultimate true runes, right? So you have the 27 true runes there. But this is what I mean. I think it's also this music is perfect. Start with this, like, you know, the burning down, right? We're killing all the people, and then we see, you know, the evil empire, right? Very much like, you know, the princess, some of the maybe not evil guys, but yeah, questionable guys, you know. Some other evil guys, and then of course the main antagonist, right? The crazy evil guy, right? Yeah. And all the body copies, right? But that's why I think it's so good too, right? Because you get that. Like I said, yeah, so here, right, we have the burning, we have the murder of all the civilians, right? And yeah, and the open takes time to introduce you to all the characters, right? So you see the evil king, the evil prince, the princess, which is not evil, but, you know, she's kind of part of it, you know. The generals, so some of them are more neutral, but they're still evil, right? Some of them are not evil, but, you know, forced in the machine of evil, right? And the genocide or whatever, right? And so on. And then, of course, after this bit, right, we see, okay, so now it's like, the disaster is over, like now everyone's dead, right? So now we get to this, yeah, desolated, yeah, so now, you know, all the humans have died, right? It's just like, no one's alive anymore. Still, I think this is the best opening I've ever seen in my life, really. Video game style, man, it's so good, yeah. And then we have this part, right? The little sapling coming in, right? And I think it's kind of fine. You can see that, right? In the fifth opening that I showed you quickly earlier. That the fifth opening, like, they even take this thing again. Yeah, the fifth opening, they're like, let's try to reproduce magic, right? So they even have like a sapling to it again. Yeah, they know it was gold opening too, man. They're like, why don't we take the thing again? Yeah, that little sapling that has like one little, you know, water drop on it, right? And try to relive the opening again. But this is what I mean. I think the opening is so good, and why it's so similar to, again, this like typical German, then, you know, Austrian or German, but I mean Germanic, you know, musicals, right? You know, theater plays. Yeah, that you have that. The tragic start, right, which is the tragedy of the play, right? And then you have kind of like the anticlimax, if we call it, right? The middle part, where everyone is dead or exhausted, and nothing is happening. It's like a stasis, right? Everyone is just sad, you know. But no one is dying anymore, because everyone is dead already, yeah. Everything's been destroyed, right? Then you have that little spring of life, so really, this is so well written, this opening, because it really follows the storyline, you know. It's like the world is burning, then it's like it's nothingness, right? Then you have a slow build up for the good guys, you know, coming to life, right? So it really has that typical musical performance of, you know, again, yeah, and it has, but it's more like a positive, you know. The second up speed is positive, right? The first up speed is negative. You know, and the second one is very positive, right? You know, and then it comes in here, right? Because they have so many playable characters, this opening is so good too, right? Because then you can show you like half the playable cast, right? Because there's so many characters, they have time to show you at least like half of the characters, yeah, in the opening. Your family members, your sisters, yeah. But that is like, we have 100 plus characters, so it's like, well, at least 30 of them can be in the opening, right? But I think it's so well done here too, right? Because it's showing the castle, you see the strategy characters, right? So they're having the personality, so on, who they're fighting. You know, some people are working on like, yeah, that's the playable dogs. Yeah, that wolf is playable, yeah. There's a playable wolf! And then we see them hanging out after parties, one. But I do think that this opening, of course, it was so good when it was, I mean, I have the game, of course, and when it was released, right? It was a fantastic opening for its time as well, from a technical standpoint. But like I said earlier, I think this is going to make the opening so good today as well. Not only is it so perfect when it was first released, but it is also this kind of graphic, right? And they have this like sprite anime graphic, right? The drawings instead. I think that's what makes it so timeless, right? That's the extra point for it, because, as like I said earlier, opening 5 tried very hard, right, to almost copy this opening, right? Not like exactly, but it's very, very similar. Opening 3 is more different, so opening 1 is different, opening 4 is so much similar in the middle of them, yeah. But you know what I mean, like, opening 5 especially tried to, like, just tell the same story twice, you know what I mean? But because they used, like I said earlier, that year's graphic, right? Not even the highest budget for this graphic. I'm not saying the opening is ugly. I can watch it, I still enjoy it, right? But it's not like a timeless classic, because this is, I think, a good point why I made the video here, because, yeah, these kind of opening, right, or these kind of games where, and also some animes, right, similar-wise, where they have this specific style, right, of like, we're not trying to like use, you know, like the greatest 3D model we have today, right? So we're trying to use like perfect a sprite anime, right? And whatever you mean, because that is more timeless, right? I think, for example, if I play a Super Nintendo game and I play, let's say, Secret of Mana, right, or those games, right, very, very sprite-heavy games, right? They're very beautiful sprites. They still work. They work. The graphics have been beautiful. But if I play a lot of PlayStation games today, I'm not a graphic guy. Get me wrong. I'm not a graphic guy. Graphics for me is the last thing I care about, right? But still, right? When I play a PlayStation game, many PlayStation games, right? Their graphics are of course just ugly, right? Some of them work way better. So, for example, Sega Frontier 2, which is like a painting. Every scene is like a painting. It's like hard to explain it, showing it, but basically like every. I can show you what I mean here. So this here is Sega Frontier 2. This I think is a perfect example of graphics that are, you know, even when the game was new, it looked really great. Don't get me wrong, it was beautiful when the game was released, right? But yeah, Sega Frontier 2 is a good example of a game from a graphical standpoint that just works today. Even like, because it was like because all the landscapes, all the scenes where you're moving around in the game, this is not the fight scenes now. The fights they look uglier, but all like the city scenes and the forests and whatever, they look like this, you know. They have this kind of landscape painting, this kind of weird painting design, so to speak. But it really makes that game, to me at least, if you play it today or play it 20 years ago, the graphics to me looks the same, you know what I mean? But they feel the same because, yeah, it's some kind of beautiful like painting, you know, still frame painting design, right? So they just completely ignored trying to make it 3D, you know what I mean? Even though it's released on PlayStation 1, they were like, screw that, we're gonna make it like super old school, right? They're like paintings. And that's why it looks beautiful, I think, to this day, right? Even like if you release a game today with these graphics, I would still think it's a beautiful graphic, right? You know, given though it's a hard time making like a 3D game in this. But you know, my point. And I think this opening here and in Suikoden has that value too, right? That because they went for it to be 100% like this, right? Where you're showcasing every character in this kind of like, yeah, in like a painting style, right? That has also made it be immune, so to speak, right? To also lose out on graphic, right? Because, like I said, I don't dislike the fifth opening. I like the fifth one too, right? But the fifth opening, I can like it for the same reason as this opening, that the music is good, that it has the storytelling is good, right? But then it loses heavily on the visual of it, right? Yeah, it loses heavily on that, right? Unfortunately, especially because the game wasn't even that good looking when it was released, I think. But then we have the armies, yeah, different generals. Everyone is playable though. She's playable. Yeah, everyone's playable. But no. Different characters, right? Talking about that, yeah. Kobold, dog guys, you know, martial artists, you know. Yeah, the game has so many characters. If you play the game, is like, here's some dog, and here's like a woman that can throw knives. She's like a circus artist, and then it's like a vampire hunter, and it's like, it's so many characters. There's like, this guy, he's a vampire hunter, and this woman, you know, she's like a dragon, hair dragon thing. Or that woman, she's like a kung fu master or something. Yeah, she can do this like white fang martial art, turn into a tiger or something. It's so many characters, and you also have some playable, you know, playable animals like a wolf and a octopus and so on. Yeah, and a unicorn. So you also have a couple of intelligent animals to play as, you know. Yeah, then we see the vampires, and then we see, you know, then we see the more mysterious guys. But it's also why the opening is so good too. Go back to this in here, right? This is also one of the things that this opening makes so well, right? And why it fits as an anime opening. Remember, this game is released, you know, in the midnight. This game is quite old, right? But think about it. This kind of opening is what you see so often now in anime. This is basically a silhouette character. This is like a Pesmerga or something. Yeah, this is like Pesmerga or Yubber or whatever in the opening, right? So, I mean, I don't even know who it's supposed to be. To this day, I think it's Pesmerga, right? Yeah, in the opening here. But that's what I mean. It's like they also do this stuff, right? which I think it also makes the opening extra spicy because they also throw in this like silhouette. Half is silhouette characters, you know, because the game has so many playable characters, right? And some of them are hard to recruit. So this here, I believe, is the hardest character to recruit in the game, right? Because again, it's silhouette. I think it looks like him though. So you know, they're kind of teasing you with like, oh, who is this guy? You know? So I like that too. They really capture like everything that an opening should have. They even have some foreshadowing of like, who is the strongest character? Oh, he's here, but you can't see his face. You know what I mean? They even have that shit in it, right? They're kind of flying by the secret characters in the end there. I really like that, yeah. And then it's also the tree. Because the game is focused around you, your sister, and your best friend, right? So yeah, so there's like the 3 colors. And then it starts fast away, you know, because they're, yeah, part of that, and then we see the rules and so on. But yeah, I really like this whole thing. It's so fantastic, man. So anyway, guys, business job, this episode is alright. We're gonna do opening, reactions, and reviews, all other things too, right? I wanna go out a little bit, and I mean, I love doing opening reactions. You know, I love it every anime season, right? It's like my favorite thing. We get new openings. You know, I really, really love watching, especially, you know, shonen openings. I mean, every opening, but especially shonen openings, right? You know, Bleach, whatever, Up Academia, One Piece openings are very rare, but you know, I love getting those openings, especially, right? And looking to them and reviewing the scenes and, you know, the storytelling and so on, right? And you know, I'm a sucker for like, you know, Naruto openings and stuff like that, right? So I want to go out a little bit, as I mentioned last week, and look at older stuff, maybe review, you know, about it, I did last year a bit, right? But yeah, also maybe go back and review older animes, right? You know, older anime openings that we haven't talked about yet. Definitely probably gonna do that more as well, right? I feel. Yeah. I wanna probably, but the thing is that last year I basically did, I feel, review most old openings. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I did then go back and I reviewed a lot of old openings that of course I've seen before, most of them. But I basically went back. I took some requests, but I mostly went back and like talked about old anime openings. That's why I now then. So I hope you guys like this stuff. I want to go in and do a little bit of video game, you know, also then opening reactions as well, right, reviewing, because yeah, this because it's a lot of video games, especially then Japanese video games that have a similar, I feel, to the anime opening style, right? So I want to talk about that. And again, this game is really old, right, and it's a heavy inspiration for many isekais and other. It's very, very, you know, it's a very iconic, famous PlayStation 1 game, right? So I would say it's heavily inspiration to many isekai, especially, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I mean, you know how it is, like, you see the authors, right, of many, especially isekais then, right? They, of course, take inspiration from other animes and mangas, but also games, right, with the level system and this stuff and so on. And this game is, like, one of the most iconic, usually even the most valuable game, right, to PlayStation 2, I mean, the second game, yeah, like I said, $300-400 shop that's on eBay, right? So it's usually the most valuable, like, cult iconic game, right? Really though. So, anyway, guys, subscribe, and have a great day.